What happens when two worlds collide? When a valuable but dangerous substance becomes the currency of diplomacy and warfare? The Opium Wars were a turning point, not just for China, but for the balance of global power. But how did this all begin, and why did China, once the center of global trade, find itself brought to its knees? It all started with a simple flower, the poppy. From this plant came a substance so powerful it created an addiction epidemic that would destabilize a nation. But the real driving force behind the Opium Wars was not the drug itself, but the lucrative trade it represented. In the early 19th century, the British Empire had an insatiable demand for Chinese goods, tea, silk, porcelain. But China, self-sufficient and uninterested in foreign imports, demanded payment in silver. For the British, this was unsustainable. The solution? Opium. Grown in British-controlled India, the drug was smuggled into China in vast quantities. Soon, millions of Chinese were addicted, and silver was flowing back into British coffers. The Qing Dynasty, alarmed by the social and economic damage, tried to put a stop to the trade, but it was too late. In 1839, Chinese official Lin Zexu took a bold stand. He confiscated and destroyed over 20,000 chests of British opium in Canton. This act of defiance would spark the First Opium War. What followed was a series of military conflicts, pitting the technologically superior British forces against a weakened Qing dynasty. The Chinese were no match for British warships and advanced weaponry. The war ended in 1842 with the Treaty of Nanking, a humiliating defeat for China. The treaty forced China to cede Hong Kong to the British, open up 5 ports to foreign trade, and pay hefty reparations. It was the beginning of what the Chinese would later call the Century of Humiliation. The Opium Wars were not just about trade, they were about imperialism. For the British, this marked the consolidation of their influence in Asia, while for China it signaled the erosion of sovereignty and the beginning of foreign domination. Even today, the legacy of the Opium Wars continues to shape China's relations with the West. Hong Kong would remain under British control until 1997, and the memory of these conflicts still echoes in China's modern policies and global ambitions. The Opium Wars were not just a clash of empires, they were a turning point in the history of East and West, one that reshaped the world's economic and political landscape forever.